Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Higher Learning Podcast. This is your host, Ron. Make sure you go follow me on Instagram at HNS420, Facebook HNS420, and also on Twitter, HNS420_HNS420. Make sure you check out the blog spot too, the Politic and Broadcasting Forum. Today, we have a guest. I'd like to welcome Sommer, founder of Chase Your Throne and Cultivate podcast. How you doing today, Sommer?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you for coming down. We're in Riverside Studios. We usually do our content creator interviews on Wednesdays at 5:30. If you want to interview, come down, DM me on Instagram or Facebook. How was that drive coming down here? I know it was hell, right?
Actually, it wasn't. I don't know, that favor kind of had me on the freeway, so I got here in 20 minutes.
20 minutes? I've never got here in 20 minutes.
25 tops, so
wow.
It was a crazy day. Had to do the work day and then get down here. So.
Wow, that's crazy. So I've always wanted to ask you, Chase Your Throne. I've always thought, what I got out of it is you said pretty much everyone has a destination. Everyone has something that God has for them. Mm-hmm. To me, I got out of that, you didn't say chase a throne or chase the throne. You said chase your throne. Right. So you have to find the path that God has for you and go after it. How did you come up with that?
Gosh, that is a throwback, to be honest with you. I went from Chase Your Throne to Cultivate Foundation to Cultivate. But Chase Your Throne is definitely my baby. It's something that was birthed inside of me when I just needed to figure out my path and what I wanted to do. And I always knew that I was royalty. I knew that I was special. I knew that I had a lot of power in me. And I needed to figure out how to take that, kind of bottle it, and go and be in pursuit. The issue is that sometimes we're all over the place, right? We have no idea what we're doing and what path we're trying to take for us. And it was very important for me to determine and to really tap into what my purpose was. And so being royalty and a daughter of a king, I knew that I had a throne here, a job to do on this earth. And I wanted to do that. I want to do that before I die. I want to empty out my gifts. And so for me, it was more so about I wanted to be in pursuit of my throne, what God has for me, and make sure I tap into everything that I'm supposed to have on this earth. And that's where it said you need to be in constant pursuit of it. That's where it came from, being chased of that every day. Get up, like I heard, beat your talent and make sure you're pursuing that. That's where it came from.
That kind of inspired me, like in a real way, that name. I remember you came up with it a while back. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Years,
probably, at least 15, 16 years.
Yeah. It's always been inspiring.
Thank you.
I've heard you speak at some of your events, and I heard you talk about your times in Atlanta, and going to school and everything. Mm-hmm. Talk about how that shaped your character. Riding on the bus. I know it's a touchy subject.
Good God, he jumps right in.
I'm jumping right in, because that seriously, when hearing that, like, you don't know how much that when I heard it, it gave me inspiration, because you came from a lot, and look at you now. So I want to know how that helped you. You know what I mean, going through that.
Well, first off, look at me now. I will say I'm still on an upward slope, a climb. I'm mid elevation. I like to put that out there. So Thank you for that. No problem. My humbleness jumping in. But I have come from afar. I mean, growing up in Atlanta was interesting. I grew up with my mother and my sisters, but at times we were separated. And there were many times where I didn't see any of them, including my mother. And I know that you're talking about the story on the bus. I can share that a little bit. I lived in a shelter. It was a battered women's shelter in downtown Atlanta with my mother, because she was in a relationship where she was getting beat badly. I mean, to the point where if I saw, police cars, even just in the vicinity, I knew they were on the way to my mother's house, because, I'm coming down a school bus and I can see that police cars are flying down. I'm thinking, okay, my mother's probably been beat again. You know what I mean? And just know that before her rest in peace, before I shared these stories, this was a conversation that I had with her, and she gave me the okay to share these stories. Okay. And I say that because she's a giant. She's a hero. So anything that I say is pertaining to my life and my viewpoint of it. But getting back to that, we had, we needed to be taken down to a protective custody shelter, a battered women's shelter, and we lived there. And honestly, when I think about that shelter's home. That shelter was like the most stability I had growing up. I remember the night we needed to go to that shelter was I didn't have any shoes on. I had on pajamas. I got snatched out of the bed. She was pulling me off the bed, and she's like, we gotta go. She was dripping in blood. And we walked a few miles down to my grandmother's trying to get help. I had no shoes on. It was raining. I was freezing. In Atlanta, the rain ain't good. You know what I mean? The rain is like sweet. And so that is a very vivid memory. And so we went down And so when you and then my grandmother called, some people so that we can get some help because she didn't have the means to help us either. And so we went down and checked into a battered women's shelter, and that was like that was home. Like I had family from there. I have, in my heart that I remember who helped me feel comfortable and feel safe. And so at that point in time, I was going to, I know you guys don't know vicinity from Atlanta to East Point, but it's not close. And so I had to take, I was like, I think I was in the 5th grade at the time. And I was taking, about 10 years old. And I'm taking 2 trains and 2 city buses to get to the 5th grade. And I had to do it like at 4 a.m., right, by myself, because I couldn't let them know that I was doing it, and then I would have been taken away from my mother. Right. And so that was something that, and it's sad because I would be sleepy on the way back. The 10-year-old getting up at 4 a.m., going to class, trying to get good grades. And then on the way back, I would ride the train to the end of the line. And then I'd jump up and be so scared because I'm thinking I know my mother's looking for me. And I would have to ride all the way back. And I'm sorry, Mom, I'm sorry. And she'll be crying. And she's like, I'm sorry, I know you're tired. And I'll be on this train. But God's grace, nothing happened to me. I could have got smashed, raped, anything. So yeah, it's definitely one of many stories.
That one always caught me, it made me pay attention. Sometimes when you're growing up and complaining about certain things that you go through, and it could be bad, but then you look at somebody else's, you're like, man, it ain't nothing like it. Not to compare, but to kind of give you perspective.
I don't like comparing my story. I just like to share it because I don't want to take away from anything that anybody else is going through. Right. And when I look back, God always had me. And so it's like, I can't really complain. I know it sounds horrible, right? Looking back, it's like, wowzer, But there's, the one that really, really bothers me that I really don't share much is, one night my mother got beat and, she was in an altercation with the individual she was dealing with. And they were already letting me know let us know I could overhear when the police would come to the door that the next time it happened, I was going to be taken. Right. And so I went out the back door. My sister had to get me, her and her friends. They were very young as well, came and got me. And the next day I had a play that was very important to me because at that time, all I had to throw myself into was school. Right. And so I was like I think I was like the president of the Black History Club or something in the 5th grade. And I remember I needed to be there. I barely had on any clothes when she picked me up. And so to go to school, they wrapped a sheet around me.
No. They wrapped a sheet around me.
When I think about that story, that brings tears to my heart. Like I had a sheet. They wrapped a sheet around me to go to school. So that's just, little small instances of my upbringing.
They wrapped a sheet. I'm like, I need to process that real quick. And you actually went to school with that on. Like, Jesus, man, that's like determination right there. Most kids, I tell my daughter I'm gonna throw a sheet around her right now, she probably try to kill me.
Right.
So that just shows you like the difference in, not having to grow up and face stuff like that. Like that's tough, man. That's tough. I admire you for that.
Thank you.
We gotta talk about this being Pomona residents. We gotta shout out P-Town real quick. Going to school in Pomona, how did that shape? How were you able to find yourself and find your purpose? We know we have to deal with going to school in that town and dealing with some of the things off campus and everything. How were you able to keep your focus and find your purpose, as you say, chase your throne?
Yeah, I think for me, I was a ball player since like junior high school. Yes. And so for me, I always did that. Right. So it kept me away from things, but it also grew somewhat of a family and protective source around me. Right. Because, at Pomona, that was another situation. Just because we moved to California, we moved to California from that shelter. Mm-hmm. And just because we moved to California, our life didn't change. Right. People at Pomona High School had no idea what I was going through. Right. It's funny because a lot of people, when I started to share my story, a lot of people reached out to me and was like, we had no idea that you were going through that. Because I think that you need to go through things as graceful as possible and with Thanksgiving. Yeah. And so I wasn't the type, even at the young age, to let anybody into knowing what was happening with me because I was still feel like I was favored, right? Mm-hmm. But in Pomona High School, I lived 3 schools away. So I should have been probably enrolled in schools way down past like the 60 freeway.
Oh, you were down on South Side.
Yeah, I was down on South Side Pomona. And so after basketball practice, I would just have to lace up my shoes and I'm running 10 o'clock at night after practice, running home on empty stomachs, trying to get back home. But
you was running home?
Yeah, after every practice. Like nobody know these things.
What?
Yeah.
You know, oh my God. You live further than me. I live by Ganesha.
Yeah.
So I should have been going to Ganesha. I used to have to walk home too. So
exactly.
You were further than me. How
yeah.
was you running? Oh my God.
It was at the time, we grew up on, Section 8, and that's where the house was. And so it was like I had to come to school that way. I had to run home that way. No one really came to my games. It's funny because I like to say I was kind of a ball.
Yeah, no, you got some game. You got some game.
And none of my family really knew how good I was at first, until like my senior year. But so I made family though, like the, gangbangers, the pimps, and even some of the, I hate to say it, I don't know the better term for this, but the prostitutes or whatever. I mean, they would all hate Sommer, you know what I mean? And my sister was extremely popular, and so she was older than me, and so they knew I was her little sister, and some of them would get me to the next corner. They'll see me running, and I'm like, hey, and they'll just walk with me to the next corner. I'll be honest with you, shout out to Chris Jones, if he ever sees this, he walked me home many nights.
Like,
that was like a brother to me, and he always made sure once we would walk straight downtown, and then once I hit that left, he would stay and say, "Run home from here," and I'm like, "Okay," So I had a lot of protection, a lot of angels around me.
That's dope. Something you say that about Chris. Chris, when my mother died in the summer of from 10th to 11th grade, and I was expecting everybody to say something and hold me down. Chris is the only person that seen me,
that's crazy,
put me around his arm. He was like, I heard what happened to your mama, man. I'm sorry. So shout out to Chris, man.
And that's funny because I didn't hear about that until after we were adults. So I apologize about that.
No problem. No problem. Now that I realize, you kind of like in your feelings back then, but as an adult, you realize that everybody's kids trying to, no one means any harm, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's going through their stuff. So switching gears a little bit, tell us more about Cultivate and your foundation, and how you came up with it. I've been thinking that you should have started a podcast as well as you speak, and the things that you do. People need to hear your voice. So tell us about Cultivate and how you decided to start it.
Yeah, definitely. First, thank you for having me here on your podcast.
No problem.
And you have been pushing me to start my own, so it's an honor to be here with that. I would say my son is sitting in the background. I have a 15, about to be 16-year-old. He's pretty dope.
Wow.
And the thought process of Cultivate came from him. It came from when I had him and looking that I was given a human. You know what I mean? Like, this is a whole human life that I have to figure out and lead on the right path, right? But then at the same time, I was going through a lot at that time too. Not too far after, he was born, and out of respect for our co-parenting and now a very cohesive family relationship. I won't get into too many details, but let's just say I went through a Tyler Perry movie during my marriage. And with him, I needed to be stable. I needed to be mentally healthy, emotionally sound, and I need to make sure that he knew what it looked like to still have a stable foundation and that I could provide for him. And so my thought process was I'm not his parent, I'm his cultivator.
Right.
And I needed to cultivate him into what God wanted for him and not me. And my biggest fear was to lead him into something, as parents, we try to force our ideologies and what we believe in and what we want on our kids. Yeah. Or if they have an idea or something, it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense, or that's stupid. I don't have time for that. I always had time for him. I always said, okay, let's figure it out or go research it. And if I didn't know, you have technology. Can you pull it up so that we can talk about it, discuss it? Right. And when he talked, I listened. And I knew that this is a brain. Like, this kid has a brain. Like, he knows how to use it. And so I was like, how can I cultivate it into something special? Right. Like, think about how many ideas we had growing up that probably could have been something phenomenal right now if somebody would have just listened. Right. And for me, I can't push off my agenda on him. Right. He's a whole human, and I respect him as such. I respect him as a young man and growing into a phenomenal king. And I need to make sure he gets there. And I just want to be the bar for him. Right. As far as the type of woman he interacts with. And so for me, Cultivate is cultivating spaces that we're in, making them healthy, cultivating relationships, be it intimacy or business. I think it's important to, I have a lot of talks with my friends about, what is the outcome here? What are we trying to do? Are we still trying to coexist? Do we want our friendship to coexist when we have issues? Then how can we have a space that's cultivating that properly? How can I respect you as a human and you respect my thought process? And so for me, that's important to make sure we're cultivating spaces, ideas, people, mental health, and the proper direction. And that's where Cultivate has been in me since he was inside of me. And so that's been such a word that's been very important to me. And that's where that name came from.
That's dope that you said that, because watching from the outside looking in, it looks like you're doing a fantastic job with your son. I see the daily devotional thing. That's impressive how he does that on his
blow me
own.
Away.
I'm
like,
I know,
better than me.
you know what I mean. I know a lot of people, with sons, and you have to feel good about what you're doing. It's not out in the streets. He ain't out here doing all this crazy stuff, and he's actually started. I know he started a brand and started Cultivate, helped me start Cultivate. So it's a good job on that. I want to give you credit for that. I want to talk about go back to. I've always been interested in the Black Panther thing.
Okay.
So your mom,
yeah,
being being a branch of Black Panther. I want to talk about. Did you get to see that? Like, do you remember?
No, I didn't get to see it.
Okay.
I just knew the stories. But I did get to see the aftermath of her. She growing up as Black Panther. My mother was 15 when she was a Black Panther. What I did get to see at her funeral was her being saluted, and the flag, and we got to read a few of the things that they read when they're sending someone off. I can't think of the name of it. And there was a letter sent from her Black Panther chapter, Cleveland, Ohio, the Afro Set chapter. And so I heard the stories from, her and our family members, how she was part of, starting some of the bread lines in Cleveland, Ohio, and just, after school programs and so forth. And I've seen pictures, some really dope pictures of her being out with her afro and the Black Panther gear on and everything. Yeah, but the aftermath of that is what she did, even though, like when I say my mother was a giant, is that she was like a quiet giant, because unfortunately, our parents have issues and they come from broken issues that they never fix, right? And so then they birth us. And then from there, we have to get to know who they are. And so just knowing her, she did a lot of community activism work, and watching her do that was like a branch of what the Panthers did. So that's the issue. That's what I got to see. She was always involved in the community growing up in like College Park, Georgia. So,
right.
Yeah.
Did you feel like obligated to kind of like tap into that? Or like apply it to your life, or kind of carry the torch and continue her legacy?
Definitely, I feel like I feel like her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
I feel like her because I think that what is in me came from her.
Yes.
Like I speak, but she spoke. Like
right.
she spoke. You know what I
mean?
Spoke. Like I write, but she was a white writer. You know what I mean? It's like I'm little bitty pieces of her goodness, right?
Yes.
And so I definitely feel obligated. She taught me to the strength of a Black woman, but also growing, I've learned the balance of the vulnerable side of a Black woman. But she taught me and showed me she was the epitome of who a mother was, regardless of what she could provide for us monetarily. Her value system was off the charts, and that's what lives in me.
Right.
And she truly valued, Black love, Black history, Black family. She taught us a lot about that and our roots. And she would explain to us certain things about from the Ku Klux Klan to, growing up in Georgia is a lot different than growing up here. I would have to walk on the other side of the street from Confederate flags. So it's a whole lot, a whole different ballgame. But yeah, I definitely felt obligated because she was always true to who we were and wanted us to be proud of our skin color and proud to be a Black woman. And, just from that perspective, I always felt that I needed to carry that on and show, it's kind of like when they say, don't go out there and embarrass me. You know what I mean? So even though she was sick or she couldn't provide for us financially, I wanted people to know that I come from a powerful woman. Right. And so everything I am is just a little bit of her. You know what I mean? It's just a little piece of who she really was, Right. If that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, growing up, and most of us come from that era, we probably had, people, poverty-stricken parents. And when I got older, I learned not to hold them to that because they were just 2 generations removed from segregation. Mm-hmm. And before that, 3 generations ago was slavery. Mm-hmm. So our parents were fighting to become normal and not be in poverty and try to hold down jobs and do simple stuff.
Exactly.
So we can't hold them to that just because like you said, you have a powerful mother. Just because she didn't have money, that don't mean anything.
Yeah, that didn't mean anything.
Yeah. You learn so much from her otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing with Cultivate. We have to cultivate our minds and we have to break cycles. Like I'm not really interested in what was. I'm interested in what could be.
Facts.
I can't really hold on to my upbringing or the environment in which I was planted in. I have to make sure that I was given something special, and how am I going to cultivate it out of me so I can leave a legacy for him? Right. And now he can stand on my shoulders because we came from behind, right? We started from behind the mark.
Right.
So if we can stand up taller and taller, just think how much taller he's going to stand, and then his kids are going to stand. So we got to somehow try to break that trajectory, right, and change it and shift it.
Right.
And that's what my doctorate is focused on, just making sure we're getting into minority communities and shifting that and building that self-efficacy within those mindsets and breaking it from that inferior thought process.
Right. Like you mentioned that, I was going to ask you about the PhD.
Yeah.
I mean, you got your MBA and very educated. What made you take that next step and do that?
Honestly, I know that it is not necessarily needed for the direction that I'm going, but then it's needed. You know, one thing about the Panthers, and again, this inspired me. Huey, they was doctors. You know, they had knowledge. They knew things.
Yes.
So when the police put them over, they knew their rights. They knew how to get things happen. Angela Davis, all of them, they're educated. And so one thing about me is that I'm not biased to it has to be formal education. Just be educated. I don't care, self-educated. So I like to put that out there just because this was my route. I went through the formal education route. That is not the only route that works, right? I admire people who can find it another way.
Right.
However, the PhD is needed so I can enter into certain rooms that we couldn't get into before. Or it's needed to show individuals that come from where I come from. We're cut from the same cloth, but our minds are amazing.
Right.
If we tap into that power, there is nothing we can't do.
Right.
You know, and so, yeah, one day they will call me Dr. Bell, you know? So
yes.
I'm working on dissertation right now. So,
yes. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. I was going to ask you some of the things you do to motivate others. I mean, that's motivation right there. But what are things that you can say that you do to motivate others, you know, maybe in the same field or other, you know, young Black girls?
I think the number one thing about me is that I walk what I talk. I think that's the most motivational thing that can happen because I'm really not just about motivating someone. I'm about being the prime example, like I said, the bar for what a woman should look like. And I feel that if I can talk it and be it and show that it's attainable and tangible, that we can really execute things and make it happen. That's really what Chase Your Throne came from too, because I'm tired of ideas and wishing, oh, I wish I would. You know what I mean? It's like, why can't we just do it? Yeah. Because the thing about it, I don't even like that term when it says, oh, if I want it done, it ain't gonna get done. No, it's gonna get done, and you gonna watch somebody else do it. Right. And so for me, I want to be that person, you know. Right. And I think so. The number one thing that I do to motivate individuals is first, it's the power of the mind and getting hands on your emotions and not acting out of your emotions, right, and checking the words that you speak out your mouth that your brain can hear, right, and making sure that you are kind to yourself and giving yourself grace. But then also getting busy. Like I don't really like excuses. My son knows I need to ask you one time, and one time that's it. You know, we need to get things done. We need to execute. We need to always be moving. And so that's what's important to me, to show that the grind doesn't stop. Right. The grind doesn't stop because you're hurt. It doesn't stop because you're sleepy. It doesn't stop because somebody, you know, did you wrong, or, you know, it didn't stop me through divorce. It didn't stop through my sister's death. It didn't stop through my mother's death, my father's death. It didn't stop. And so when you consistently execute because you have a supreme focus on what you're doing, then that is the example that I want to be.
Right. Facts. I like that. And one way you motivate me is how you go so hard in the gym. Now, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I be seeing you be working out 5 times a day. I seriously, it makes you step your game up. So why do you work out so hard? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you 600 pounds or something.
You know, I'm sorry you're going to hear me say this. It's mindset. It's mindset. Like I personally feel that when I say I want to be the bar, I want to be the bar in every aspect. Yeah. Emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially. You know what I mean? I want to be the bar from everything that we got going on. And in order for me to, back when I was 18 years old, this guy in the bank, I was in banking, and this gentleman asked me, you know, he had a lot of money and was picking up a lot of women. And he's like, I can make your wildest dream come true. What's your wildest dream? I said, you can't make it come true. Only I can. And he's like, well, what is it? And I said, my wildest dream is to self-actualize. I want to know what a fully self-actualized Sommer looks like. Right. And that's up for me to do it, right? And so when you get your mind going, it's like, you know, they say mind over matter, but I always say, but it doesn't matter if your mind don't matter, right? And so you could think mind over matter, but if you can really tap into making sure that your mind can go past what this physical body can do, and also it feels good. It's a release. It's true. We got a lot going on. We need stress relief and so forth. But I got some good people around me who pushes me and inspires me and you know, they go hard in the gym.
Yeah,
You know, and when I see that, I'm like, oh wait, I need to go as hard too. So I got some good people around me too.
Yeah, that's making other people go hard though. So good. Shout out to you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I get a few calls, people asking me, like, hey, you know, as long as it works, let's get busy.
Right. Get up and get after early too. 6, 7 o'clock, you be up. So you know, that made me get up. I be doing it, man. Trying to keep up.
That's intentional because, like I tell people, I don't get up for work. I get up for my day.
Right.
Work is a part of my day.
Right.
You know, it's a part of my 24 hours. I get a lot done before work. I'm in the gym. I've probably washed clothes. I've probably grocery shop, meal prep. Probably ran through some emails on my personal stuff that I need to take care of. Breakfast for my son, whatever needs to happen, and then work is a calendar block on my day, and then my day continues after work. Like right now, I'm here. You know, I feel like too many people are getting up for work, and that's why our minds are just so stressed out. And it's like you getting up and you working, and then you didn't even really get into your prayer, your meditation, whatever your morning rituals are. You know, I don't want to miss those things, and the gym is a part of that ritual.
Right. So kind of like not letting work dictate your day. Let your day be your day. Your work is just a small part of it.
Yeah, just like you calendar block.
Right.
Work is a calendar block for me.
Right.
Like it's not. It doesn't take up my entire Monday. We work 5. Some people 6 days a week. We work 5 days a week. If I let work be those 5 days, I don't know. For me, again, it goes back to managing your mind. You know, because I can't sleep past the sun.
Right.
I'm up when the sun is up. Right. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, when I want to get busy, I want to get busy. I want to make things happen. So.
Right. Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, talk about your passion for the less fortunate. I was blessed to come to one of your, I don't know if it was the first one, your when you were in Skid Row and you provided food and you know all the things, and you was out there playing basketball with them, and I'm like, damn, like me, I'm over here on some bougie shit. Like I don't want one of these niggas to follow me and accidentally put his finger up my nose. Like but you was out there posting them up. I'm like, look at Sommer. Like talk about your passion for the less fortunate and what gives you that passion. And what makes you continue to, you know, to go ahead and bless those people?
Man, thank you for commending me on that because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm battling with my heart right now. It's one of my most beautiful assets, but it's one thing that I wish I could take out and throw away.
Like,
take this. Like I'm tired of loving and caring for people, right?
Right.
But not in the way that I'm tired of it. I'm just meaning that, like. You know, some people get bitter, or some people, okay, I'm done with this, or I'm not going to continue to do this. I still want to love people. You know, I still love people. Yeah. And I was less fortunate. So how can I not be with them? Like, these are my people. We're cut from the same cloth. Right. And these are people. And so I just had a vision that I wanted to hang out with the family. You know, that's exactly what my vision was. I want to get out there and hang out with the family. I want to, like, I was thinking one day how we get up and we go visit family and we have barbecues and we have parties. These people are actually just out there. Like when holidays come, what are they doing? You know what I mean? 4th of July and all these things are happening. What's happening with them? Right. And so I was like, I want to kick it with them. Right. And so I connected with some people in Skid Row. Shout out to my guy Crucial in LA. He's huge in Skid Row throughout Leimert Park. He's actually also an individual who helped me start Cultivate. He's my co-host. But out there with him, connecting me to a few people, set up a nice spot. We did a barbecue. We did clothes giveaway. We had, you know, food, playing basketball. Scott, also another shout out to Scott Machado. He came out. He used to play for the Lakers D League, and I think now he's over in Europe. And he came out one day, and so it was 4 years in a row we were doing it, all the way up until COVID. We did it, and so for me, it was more like these are people. I'm genuinely connected to people. Right. Like I love people. I love everybody in this room. I love everything about a person. You know what I mean? Right. I like to get to know people. I'm interested in human behavior, how we can act. How can I get to know you from a genuine standpoint and not surface? And so what I've learned is that these individuals, they got degrees. Right. Like I met this one girl, TT. She was a baller at UCLA at one point and broke her hip. You know what I mean? Like these are people out here who had dreams and aspirations and who have hearts and minds just like us, you know, and just to sit and talk to them, they like talking and communicating and hanging out, and they're appreciative, you know, and so that's where that came from. These are my people. I come from less fortunate. So.
Yes, I was fascinated by it, you know, because a lot of people, unless they make excuses not to do that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. I always want to do that, and then when I seen you do it, I was like, you know, I could do something like this too. Like it was good to be a part of that and witness that.
Well, thank you.
You know, all the interaction, and you could see the love in their face, the appreciation in their faces. I'm just sitting back watching, and I'm seeing this. I'm like, yeah, you can tell that they really appreciate the whole thing. So
yeah, they're pretty dope. They're pretty dope. I like to just be with them. I don't like to be above them. You know, I don't like when they come up to me. Like, I'm not, well, everybody should know I'm not a celebrity, right? But I tell them, I'm not, don't treat me like that. You know what I mean? I'm with you. Like, we're same level here.
Right.
So,
with everything that has happened in your life, have you ever considered writing a book, autobiography or something, storytelling, something? Because this stuff, you know, people need to hear and need to read and get inspired by it.
if I can't, like, the crazy thing about it is that I'm extremely disciplined when I put my mind to something. I'm refusing to put my mind to it because I don't want to do it. I'm not going to sit here and say yes, because then it's going to be an expectation of me and myself. I've been asked to write a book. I've been asked to write a parenting book because of cultivating individuals and respecting their thought processes. And this guy, I mean, my 15-year-old like blows me away. And I've been approached by several people to write a parenting book. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I think that's very important to me. I would want him to be involved in it because he's a better human than me. And that's probably a project that I do want to do. But the number one book that I have to finish is my dissertation. So nothing's coming before that. I'm done with classes in my PhD. So that's done. But the hardest part, it's like you're running a marathon. As soon as you get to the end of it, you think you're going to celebrate. And there's a huge mountain. You know what I mean? Like there's like a mountain, like not even like a mountain that you're going to go hike on, like one that's like, you know, Everest, you know, and it's like you got to try and navigate through it and figure it out. And so that is where I'm at. And I'm not over that mountain at all. And so as soon as I can finish my dissertation and publish that and become Dr. Bell, then I will publish everything in the name of Dr. Bell. And then, yes, I'll have time to focus on books and so forth.
Got it.
But I got a lot to do before that.
Well, you are in Game 7. You know, you like Kobe in Game 7. That's where you at. So,
oh, wait.
You know, be good.
I'll take it.
To see you get over that and do that.
Yeah.
You know, where do you see Cultivate going over the next couple of years? Like, what are your goals for it, personal goals for it?
Yeah, I don't have a cap for it. Cultivate is something that was birthed in me when he was birthing me. And it's something I feel like when God gives you something, you really take it and run with it. You know, I told people when I saw Red Table Talk, I was blown away because that's something I was talking about doing with my son for years. You know, setting up a table and having conversations with him. And it's crazy. And it was going to be called Table Talk. And this is not to say that was not my idea or anything, but I'm just saying when God gives you something, if you don't do it, you're going to see it happen, right? And so Cultivate is something that's been inside of me, as you guys know, for like 12 years. Yes. And so that I've talked about it, but he'll be 16 since I knew about it. Right. And so I don't have a cap. I want Cultivate to be on networks. Cultivate is needed. Cultivate is a space where we can correct thought processes and perspectives and really dig into, like I said, the art of coexisting between one another and making our culture better. But it's also, I think, a space where it's not like Cultivate is not a podcast. It's a traveling podcast. So we want to go into spaces and cultivate spaces. We'll be in Atlanta on the 16th at a barbershop. I think we'll be filming from a barbershop on the 17th. Wow. So we're going in to cultivate that space and understand their perspectives and talk about what they want to talk about. Right. And then in August, I'm planning to be in New Jersey at a boxing gym. And so I want to go wherever it takes me is where I'm trying to go, because I feel that we all need to start talking and communicating and getting our perspective and bringing back unity between minorities. That's one thing that's very passionate about. So I don't really have a cap. I want to go wherever God tells me to go, and I'm just trying to be obedient to that right now. That's why I'm here. I know you've been trying to get, I've been trying to come down here. I feel bad for a long time, but I knew that I needed to be here and support you as well. So
thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. I knew we were going to make it happen. Last year was a pandemic. We had something scheduled on IG Live. But, our journey was crazy. We weren't doing anything. We started doing the IG Lives, and we ended up, getting our Roku channel, and then ended up coming here. So once we got the studio set up, I was going to hit you up and mention your name.
Good.
So thank you for coming down. What would you say to young Black girls who maybe went through some adversity or some things in life that you see that want to take a journey like yourself? Entrepreneur, you got to deal with a lot. People don't understand. Parenting is a whole nother job. For those of you who don't got kids, don't, parenting is something else. So that's a job by itself. So being a mother, having a company, working, what do you say to a little girl that wants to take that path and avoid some of the hurdles you did in their youth?
Yeah. That's what I tell people all the time. Like, I share my story. Like, public speaking and motivational speaking and all that, that is the reopening of wounds that I have to relive for their sake.
Right.
So I hope that first receive that, and then also receive information, be open to coaching. That's the number one thing with this generation. There are people ahead of you who have already been through things. And so be open to coaching, be open to information that you're receiving, and don't always be defensive and want to shut down information. That's number one, because I can tell you whatever, and if you're not open to it, then we're missing it. But also utilize any hurdle as a means to win. Like, if you think in a race and you're jumping all those hurdles, if you can conquer jumping that hurdle faster than the next person, you're going, right? People get tripped up on hurdles.
Yes.
Hurdles are not stop signs. They're speed bumps. You know what I mean? So you have to keep going. And so use it as a reason and not as an excuse, right? Like, everything that has happened to me, I saw it as a reason to go harder, a reason to elevate higher, a reason to cultivate my mind. And so for me, I think the number one thing, find somebody who you can communicate with and be authentic with your feelings, right? That's number one, because mental health is huge.
Right.
And so mental health is running wild right now, especially with social media and so forth.
Yes.
Don't define yourself by what's happening on social media. I am tangible. Like, there's girls who follow me right now just off of me going into their schools and speaking.
Wow.
And I tell them I'm tangible. Any girl or guy who has hit me up and asked me for information or talk to me, I talk back. I don't, like I said, I'm not just talking, I'm walking. I'm trying to be the bar of what we should have. And so the number one thing is we are cut from the same cloth. I am no better than these girls. If anything, like I tell my son, you guys are better than me because you got people like me.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? So you're ahead of the game if you really want to take advantage of it and have accountability to that. If you really want to change your life, take accountability to what you want to do. Stop saying, I wish. There's too many resources out here. I know that we don't have help, but we got research to figure it out.
Right.
And you got connections and people and, that you can reach out to. And so I think that the number one thing is, like I said, I'm open. You can always reach out to me, but also don't be closed down to information and someone trying to lead and guide you. And don't get wrapped up into what this social media world or music rap world, whatever this new generation is. I am a very Southern. I was trying to think about what name I'm gonna, go by on my podcast, and I used to go by Southern Sommer, and I think I'm gonna stick to that because I have very traditional values. Yes, I'm out here doing, corporate America and a boss in my own right, but I'm a very Southern traditional type of woman. And it's okay to be boss and to be a submissive. It's okay. We talked about that at our podcast grand opening, and it's okay to, be alpha and beta, or it's okay to be an alpha woman. And like, Archie, who was the guy who stated, find someone who can bring the beta out of you, right? All of those things are beautiful because if you are confident in that, and knowing that you don't have to be this boss, BITCH, or I got to get the bag in this way. Like, find some self-respect for yourself and love on yourself and focus on your mind. Brother Nuri Muhammad says, focus on your mind, Black woman, everything else will come. You know what I mean? Like, fix your mind, fix your insights, cleanse yourself. And if you can focus on some meditation and spirituality and loving yourself, you got a whole lot of love to give to this world, And I think that answers your question. No, I could talk to them all day, so.
No, it does. In an era like this, though, where so much, people don't have values and the superficialness and all this other stuff, phoniness with people. How do you maintain that? You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard. It's hard sometimes. You kind of feel alone. The rest of the world is like this, and you're not like that.
Yeah.
So how do you, not let that cross over into you?
People always say that. Oh, you're different, or you're this, or you're that. No, I'm not. There's a lot of women. I personally believe there's a lot of women like this. It's just who are we linking up with who is not allowing us the space to be that way, right? I only allow myself around people who allow me the space to be me and to be vulnerable, and in safe spaces. If that space is now not safe for me, then I don't need. And I mean safe as in I can be vulnerable. I don't want to always be the strong Black woman, right? I have my strength, but I'm also vulnerable and loving and kind and soft. And I only want to be around individuals who allow that. But also, I think the number one thing that we have to start doing is getting honest with ourselves and honest in who we are. We can be out here fronting to be and portraying to be someone. I was just having a phone call with my guy Vlad in Jersey, and we were talking about this. You can front to be whoever you are in the limelight, so-called social media world around your friends. You gotta lay with your own thoughts at night, right? And so for me, I'm fully authentically me. I know my triggers. I know what atmosphere I can't thrive in. I know what people I can't thrive around. I know when something is not shifting right with my spirit. You got to spend time with self. And that is another number one thing, honestly, that I would tell these young girls is be okay with being with yourself. Stop having these attachments, these unhealthy, toxic attachments, thinking you need someone else. You should be able to want to connect with someone else because this person complements your happiness or complements your peace.
Right.
One thing that I do know is I know Sommer. I know my honesty. I know my anger. I know my sadness. I know everything that triggers me.
Right.
Because Sommer spent 2 years with Sommer.
Right.
You know, after my divorce and moving on, I spent 2 years getting to know who I was, wanting to know which way was I supposed to go before I went left. I went left, but I was supposed to go right. And if I would have went right, what life would that have been? Right? I don't regret anything because I learned a lot. But we got to start to really get to say, who Sommer, who am I, who do I want to be? And it's a equation. Who I am now and who I'm trying to be, the difference between that is your actual self-esteem level.
Right.
So you can sit up here and pretend you bossed up but in your own head, you know you're far from your goals, you're not really grinding like you say you are.
Right.
And so you got to sit with that. So you need to start living a life that when you close your eyes at night, you've actually accomplished things that you want to accomplish that day. You feel good with self.
Right.
You know, and so being authentically me, I have to be comfortable with self. So spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, I got to be comfortable with me. So I am in rooms with other women who don't move like me. I'm okay with that. You be you, but I'm going to still be me. Right. And I'm okay with that.
Right. I love that. You know what? Having 2 daughters, you know, being a single father of 2 daughters, I got a 16, she's about to be 16, and my second daughter is about to be 14. They need to hear examples of stuff like that and not just WAP and you know, Cardi B, and I'm not knocking any of that, but for little girls, you know, I think they need to hear from people with, you know, that type of mentality or those type of things to say and to teach so they can go ahead and have a guide, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of little girls don't have active mothers or mothers who are really giving that example. So, you know, what do you think about just, you know, focus one day, I know you're doing a lot, but focusing on, you know, helping young girls like that. I don't know if it'll be a book or a conference or whatever.
That's already there.
Okay.
That's in me. Okay. I'm a woman. And my job is to cultivate other young ladies. And anybody who enters my space knows that. Any woman who enters my space, I don't care, little girls, young girls. I remember the first time I had called to come not the first time, but I had got a call to come and speak to some girls. And I walk in a room, I think I'm like 24 at the time, 25. And I walk in a room, these are 50 and 60 girls. And I'm like, wait a minute, guy. I said, okay, give me 1 second. I go walk in the bathroom. I'm like, what are we doing right now? Like, what am I supposed to talk to them about? You know?
Right.
And he said, be yourself. And when you know, authentically know your mind and your thought process and what you have to bring to the table, they wanted my number at the end of the day. Because guess what? These are broken women who've been broken. They didn't change brokenness. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying it doesn't matter age or time or, you know, what you've done is, did you shift and when did you shift? And if you haven't shifted yet, let's shift, right? And I mean, as shifting your thinking. And so I guess when it comes to that, we can put that on books right now. Yes, you know what I mean? Yes, I'm ready to help young girls right now because I need somebody for my son to marry. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I'm putting out some good fruit. Y'all need to be ready for him because he's gonna be bomb. You know, so at the same time, I need, you know, I'm raising this, you know, a young man who has to respect and care and love for someone's daughter, but she better be right. You know, because I'm gonna tell her to kick rocks. So that's another part of me. You know, he gonna respect you. He gonna love you. He gonna open car doors. He's a gentleman for sure. But he gonna be a gentleman to the right one. And so I need y'all to start raising some right ones. You know? But I can help you do it. I'm just playing. You know? I'm not playing, but you're good.
Gentlemen to the right ones. You mess around and be a gentleman to the wrong one. It's gonna just shape everything wrong. You know what I'm saying? So no, that's
but we need to, you know, the thing is this. I listen to all types of music. I listen from, you're not your ordinary, I guess, I'm gonna just say it, black gospel music to, I listen to all types of worship music to WAP. Okay, I listen to everything. But the difference is this. I didn't grow up with WAP cultivating my mind.
Right,
I didn't grow up with this type of industry and music and being so tangible to raising our kids. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up with values and morals, and when I heard things, I know it wasn't pertaining to me. Right. And even my son, at some point, he could only listen to Lecrae for the rap music. Right. And it wasn't until he said to me, Mom, this music, the same thing I'm saying to you, does not raise me. I know who I am. It doesn't pertain to me. I just like the music. That's okay, good. As long as I know that your morals in check, then we're good to go. Right. The issue is that these are our role models. Right. Like, these girls are taking after this. Right. And I need a trick. I need to get a bag. Somebody will trick on me. What? I'm gonna trick on myself. Man. Hey. I don't know. That's just me though. But I think that, I'm gonna buy my drink and yours too. Hey, I don't know. Hey. So I feel like we have to raise a level of powerful women. And I'm gonna say this, that's coming out, and I don't want to. I kind of want to put it out there, but I don't. But I had a conversation with my boy Anthony. He's here. He does my shirts. He's in the room. ASQJ Designs. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Anthony. Hollywood. And so I was just having a conversation with him because he's going to be designing some shirts that says kingship on it. And what that means is there was a certain woman who actually raised to the honor of being a king, right? So we have kings, Nefertiti and a few others, Cleopatra. And so the thought process wasn't that she was masculine. It was that she was feminine and understood masculinity, right? And understood her position and her level of intellectual, position to bring to the table. Back then it was like, man was just like, let's fight and kill, let's fight and kill. And then they came in and said, no, let's bring some type of thought process behind war and let's be strategic about it. And so we need to teach these girls how to reach a level of, you could be a queen, but you can also understand kingship. You can understand the feminine and the masculine energy. And I think that that's what helps me to be able to coexist with male, be it friendship, whatever it is, intimacy, because I think that when we can understand that thinking, and me birthing a male, I realize his reactions are not like mine. Not at all. My son loves me dearly, but he's not that emotional to show it. He's emotional in a way where he'll look at me, is everything okay? That is his deep emotion, right? When he peaked that something's going on, or are you tired, or, men handle things differently. And then you got this woman, oh, why did you ask me this? Why did you ask me that? Girl, chill. He asked you, you know what I mean? So it's like, we got to show them how to manage their minds. I don't want to keep harping on this, but another example of this, years ago, I was dating this guy, and it was many years ago, but I remember he's playing basketball, and I tell people this story. They was at the gym playing ball all night, and I was making tacos. And all of them come to my house. They excited about these tacos. There's about 10 of them, okay? And I mean, these are fine men, okay? Fine, okay? And they go out on the patio and waiting for me to finish the tacos. I hear buzzing, ringing, buzzing. And I'm seeing phones going off like crazy. Like crazy. And my thoughts was, the sad thing is that these women think that they're out doing something. And they right here catching up about old times. And that's why we got to control our thoughts until we really know what's happening. We can't get caught up in emotions. And so if somebody don't call me back, oh, well. Right. Call me when you're free. You know what I mean? I'm going to go about my business, And so I think there's a certain, this generation of these cell phones and social media. Oh, you ain't going to call me back? I'm going to check your social media. I'm going to check your story. Gosh, you got something to do with your time. You know what I mean? You have to have something to do with your time. Right. Go and read a book. Go and work on your passion, or, and I think that when we can tap into that with these ladies, we're going to develop a whole nother generation of women that can now deal with my son.
Right. I'm glad you said that, man. Thank you. A lot of people don't touch on that. Why is it always a negative thought at first when somebody don't answer their phone?
That's so annoying.
There's so many different things that happen. Your phone could have died. Could be talking to somebody. It's on silent because you was in a meeting. So many different things that don't relate to nothing negative. So I'm glad you said that.
No, thank you.
You're welcome. What's next? What's next? What's the next big move? Is it concentrating on Cultivate, or do you have something next big in store?
For me, is everything. I'm trying to be the whole woman. I'm trying to self-actualize, and so like my body's still next. You know what I mean? My physical being is still next. My emotional being, my everything. But Cultivate is definitely the focus. Also, I have a son. He's about to be a junior. We got to get him to college, and we got to make that happen. You know, and so right now I'm open to whatever God is bringing to me. I want to tap into any and everything. I'm looking into starting a line of massage oils and so forth, because I think that, you know, my son in the room, but a woman can be boss and sensual at the same time. And so I'm working on that, and just whatever work. You know, the thing is, what I've learned is that just throw it out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Stop holding back on your gifts. Stop holding back on your ideas, and just do it and tap into everything. And so I'm definitely going to be focused. You will definitely still see me in the gym. And I got to get through this PhD. Y'all calling me doctor, and I'm not a doctor yet, putting all this stress on me. So now it's like it has to happen. So I have a whole 250-page dissertation, you know, book of research that I have to do.
Right.
So I'm getting a PhD, which means according to Dr. Bell, statistically shown, she says blah, 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 blah. So I got to create a whole research analysis before I can get that DR in front of my name. So that's definitely big on the list. I'm going to try and make it happen before this guy graduates, because that's how long a dissertation can take. So hopefully that's the goal.
No, you will, man. Hopefully. Keep going, hopefully. In conclusion, I just appreciate you coming here. We had a great time at Cultivate. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think so. 2 weeks ago.
Had a great time. It was a great thing. I want you to keep on going. Be open and everything. You know, when we started doing our podcast years ago, we didn't know that it was going to turn into this, where we're doing live streaming events and concerts. And so you got to just stay open to everything. You know, I'm sure you know that, but just, trying to make that manifest. Make sure you guys follow Higher Lurnin, HNS420 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Make sure you follow the YouTube channel, Politicking Roku. Check out the blog spot, politickinforum.com. And tell everybody where to find you.
You can find me at Cultivate Podcast, CULTIV with an 8 podcast, or you can follow my personal page, Chase Your Throne. Those are both on IG, Chase, CHASEYOURTHRONE. And either one of those, just reach out to me.
Thank you. We're at Riverside Studios. If you have any questions about doing any interviews up here, DM me. Thank you for coming down. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you, guys.
Higher Lurnin. We out, y'all.